Today, we're talking about the journey and what started Billion and Better. My name is Ali Davar.
And I'm Emily Montiel.
And this is Billion and Better. Emily, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Awesome. I'm actually very excited. Been waiting for this day for several weeks. We've been working in the background to do the planning and do all the little parts that goes into starting this podcast. And today's the first time we're actually starting our conversation and recording. So I'm super pumped and ready to do this.
Me too. We've been planning this, I think, actually for a couple months now. And we've had so many conversations that we were like, no, we need to stop. That's podcast content. So it feels good to be in front of the mic and being able to share those thoughts and our journey together with the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. So, Ali, what is Billion and Better? I think we came up with a little bit of a unique name that you kind of have to unpack the meaning a little bit, especially right now in our first episode as we take our listeners on this journey. So what is Billion and Better to you?
Yeah, so Billion and Better to me is about the journey. You and I both are on a path to build $1 billion business. So we work at a company that we know what we're modeling it after, and we see businesses out there that have done the same thing and are worth over $1 billion. But the journey is not financial only. There's a lot that goes into building $1 billion business. This is really the journey that you're personally going through as far as development and like learning the lessons and stacking the skills on top of each other that create a real world utility that you can use that to build $1 billion business or anything you want. For example, anytime you see somebody that's achieved crazy success in the world and something happens, they go bankrupt, they lose everything, you see them come back a lot of times very quickly and build it all over again or build something even bigger. That's not because of the number of hours that they had to put into it. That's because initially when they got to where they were, they stacked up skills and certain connections and everything they know that second time around they were able to do it faster and create something again or something even bigger. So to me, the journey, part of it is about building the business, the leadership skills that we're building, the systems and procedures that we're putting in place, but also the relationship side of it, the personal development side of it, the health side of it. To be able to operate at that level, you got to live a different life and you got to go through that journey and learn a lot from it. So that's what Billion and Better means to me.
So it's interesting that you're talking about that because earlier we were talking, and this was for this, and I'm totally going to butcher it, but Steve Jobs said something along the lines of, you don't seek to become a millionaire for the money at the end. Obviously, that's nice, but it's about the person you become along the way. And I think that's something that's always kind of been in my heart and my soul, but I never really knew how to articulate it. He did a much better job. And you've actually helped me understand, pull that out of me and what that really means. And for me, it's about challenging the perceived dichotomy of building $1 billion profitable business. Some people think that like capitalism and profits and stuff are icky, right? But doing it in a way that actually makes a good impact on the world and also simultaneously improving the human being that you are, growing personally on that journey too, and not just, looking at $1 billion and being this money hungry, we're going to get this revenue, we're going to get this profit, but being a better human along the way. To me, that's the most fulfilling thing. It's not about just the numbers, it's about the journey, and then being able to share that with the world.
Yeah, exactly. That really speaks to me because the journey and the impact is what matters to me personally. Love the money. I love to go out there, be competitive and be able to win and grow financially and the business side all the time. But to me, it's about the journey and becoming something and how you really actually think, like how you feel about yourself, right? To me, what excites me is the growth, is learning something new and then taking that and implementing it and seeing what works, what doesn't work. And then through that, being able to actually connect with other people and touch other people's lives. To me, $1 billion business has more opportunities to touch more lives. That speaks a lot more close to my heart than just, hey, we're gonna build this $1 billion business and it's like all financial side of it. That doesn't get me out of bed. What gets me out of bed is the human side of it, the impact side of it. So I guess one of the questions that we had thought about is, what is our why, right? So that's I love to talk about that. But what is your why, Emily? What drives you?
So that's so. It's a hard question for me to answer. I know what my what is, and I haven't quite figured out what my deeper why is. I was never, when I was younger, the kid that was like, I want to be a vet, I want to be an astronaut. I just knew that I always wanted to do something in business. I love business. I love just like the fast pace. I love like pulling different levers to get different results. I love that. I love high achieving. But I also knew that it was very important to me to do something that made a positive impact. As much as I love money and the financial side, if you think about it, like Wall Street is just this construct that we created as humans. And so to like put yourself in this robotic place that we're just kind of like subservient to this thing that we created ourselves, and your self-worth is based on whether that's doing well or not, wasn't enough for me. So that's what I mean when I say the dichotomy, right? Like you have that, and that's the thing I want to do. I just want to make sure that the way I'm doing it actually empowers other people, puts good back into the world. I remember in early on in my, I want to say career, it was a job that I took as a college student because I didn't have to work weekends, and I wanted weekends off, and I was a preschool teacher. It became a career because I spent 15 years in that industry, growing and learning and developing as a person and professionally. But I remember being in the classroom and having my first interview for a management position. I think I was like 19, 20 maybe. And they asked me, why do you want to be a manager? What do you want to do? And I panicked. I didn't know what to say. So I literally just spoke from my heart, and I was like, I think, not to toot my own horn, but I think I do pretty good things inside this classroom. But to me, that's not enough. I feel like I can share those good things with other teachers at the time, right? That would be the people I was directly pouring into. I can share these things with others in a more impactful way, being in this role. It's not about the position. It's not about power. It's about what that role allows me to more easily do, influence, teach. So I feel like I have more to offer our school, this industry, than what I can do inside my own four walls. I got that job, and I'm not obviously working in that industry anymore, but I still look at that as such a pivotal moment in my life. That I was like, yes, this feels right. This is like a step in the path that I want. Never did I say, I want to be a preschool teacher. I want to be a director of a preschool. That was never on my career wish list. But it checked the box of, I can make a positive impact here.
So I love that. Give me a little bit of your journey. I'd love to actually hear more on what led you here. So that was your, how did you get started with the job at preschool? What happened afterwards? What led you to be actually here at this point?
So I was actually in business school in college. I've always been big about work-life balance. I tend to be a workaholic, and so I have to consciously say, stop now, pay attention to the other people that are important in your life, the other things that are important in your life, because I do, like I think the yin and yang thing, like it really is me. Like I will go so hard for the achievement, and then I'm like, no, I need to be grounded. So I found the job on Craigslist. And in the job posting, it had the hours. It was like 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. I was like, oh, perfect. I can take my college classes around that schedule, in between, and I don't have to work weekends. I realized in that role that it was a good place to make an impact on people because I don't know if you know, and you don't have children yet, childcare is really expensive. It's more than most mortgages. And I realized really quickly in my relationships I developed with the parents, and I was like, wow, this is like, you're literally dealing with the two most important things in people's life, their children and their money, because it's a heck of a lot of money that they're paying to be here. So what I'm doing, what I'm able to do here is important to people. It matters to people. It's not like who bags your groceries. Not that that's not an important role in our society. It absolutely is. But how you bag the groceries doesn't have the ability necessarily to change somebody's life or make their life easier. So that's kind of, when I took the job, it was because of the hours. And it was decent pay, too, and they offered education assistance and all those things. When I got into the job, I was like, oh, yeah, this is a people job. I can do good things for people and not just for the stock market here.
Cool. So once you told me about a story about someone's shoes that you like, so tell me about that.
Okay, so as much as I like to be inspirational and have these I love aha moments and love to kind of share those stories as these were the catalysts in my life that led me to this this path and where I am now. The truth is, I was working as a preschool teacher and I realized it was an important job and I could make a positive impact for people doing it. What first got me interested in having a more senior role was I always thought that our director dressed really well. She looked so nice and poised and put together, and I loved her shoes. So in my young, immature mind, I was like, wow, if I get to be a manager, I don't need to wear these teacher clothes. It's preschool, so you need to wear tennis shoes and stuff. You're chasing kids around all day. I was like, I can dress really nice and look the part of this businesswoman that I always imagined that I'd be. And so I just loved that idea of having work clothes and the aesthetic that it gave. Obviously, that wasn't the thing that really led me to then kind of branch out and apply for the more senior positions, but it always intrigued me and kind of hooked me that I was like, oh, I can wear big girl clothes, which is so ironic because for so many years of my life I lived in that business attire and heels, and I remember people would see me in tennis shoes and be like, are you okay? Are you sick? And now all I wear is sneakers. I have sneakers on right now. You can do business and dress casually. You can be a really awesome business leader and dress casually, but that's my silly story. What kind of attracted me to the role is what image I could portray.
That's awesome. I have a similar story that I'll share later. So you went to the management side and the preschool. How long did you do that for?
Oh my God. It feels like a long time. I held a lot of different roles. I was an assistant director, then I was a director, I was a district manager, and then I worked at the regional level doing operations, which is actually what led me here right now. I did that for, in the management side, over 10 years in various roles. Yeah, I mean, a decade. A decade is
it seems like a long time, right? When you're in it, it passes by so quickly. So we talked about skills and how they stack, right? So coming here, and I got introduced to you when you became our director of operation for our company, and you came in with really a set of skills that was going to take us to the next level, take us from 5, offices that we had, 4 offices at the time, to take us to 100 plus. We know we could do that. What skills did you learn in your previous job that hey, this is a real business world skills that now I can take this and build another business with it?
It's so interesting. I can definitely speak to the stacking of skills and what that journey looked like for me. But the thing that I think is my superpower, the silver bullet, is the people skills. It's the soft skills. Early on in my management career, I was very administrative at the school level. So I learned the art of execution. Get stuff done. Do it. Get it done. And you have quick responses. Things have to be super timely. They have to be accurate. So I learned execution. A lot of people can execute. A robot can execute. But, I don't know. Now it seems like they can. But robots can't form human relationships. I know that's probably debatable in today's day and age, but they can't form human relationships. They can't influence others the way that a human can. And I remember exactly where I was sitting. I remember what I was wearing, is still on that businesswoman aesthetic. The first time I saw Simon Sinek's TED Talk, Start With Why, and I remember I felt like my world changed in that moment, and I was like, wow, that's an incredible concept. And I still to this day credit that as the seed that gave me the hockey stick moment where I could execute. I knew numbers. I could read a P&L like nobody's business. But that was the moment where things changed, and I was able to achieve more and do more because I understood the people side, or began to understand the people side.
Yeah, very interesting. Simon Sinek had a very powerful impact on me. I've read his Start With Why book 3 times, and it changed my life 3 different times, right? I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot. But what is a hockey stick moment?
A hockey stick moment is, the shape of a hockey stick. It's long, and then it has the upturn at the base of the stick. And a hockey stick moment is kind of symbolic of a journey. You're on this path and you're moving along, but it's kind of straight, right? And then something changes, or you hit your stride, or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden there's an upward trajectory, a quick and upward trajectory. It's kind of like that concept of getting rich, getting broke, success. All of those journeys happen slowly and then suddenly, right? It's kind of the same thing of people saying, oh, it was an overnight success. I was like, no, I've been on this road for a long time. Now you're seeing the hockey stick moment come to fruition. But really, it was the long road that got me here. So the hockey stick moment to me is like the almost sudden, seemingly upward trajectory of something.
Yeah, we always talk about that at our company, how success is gradual and then all of a sudden. Thank you for sharing that.
All right, so I've shared with you a little bit about how my desire to maintain a work-life balance and not work on the weekends, and a really fabulous pair of shoes kind of put me on the path to understanding what it really was that I wanted to do in life. What led you here to sitting here on Billion and Better now?
Yeah, I resonate with the part that you said, like, I think I'm a little workaholic. Like, I really, I know I am a workaholic. And but part of me likes that. Part of me wants to go deeper on that and actually see what I value there. But for me, the journey started with, so I worked at Chick-fil-A first. That was my first official job. And I, just like you, I did that for so many years. I think it was about 10 years. And it taught me a lot. Chick-fil-A changed my life. And what I mean by that, it taught me a lot of real life business skills. It taught me a lot of leadership skills, a lot of just like, customer service, obviously. That's like really applicable in the real world and how you interact with people. So at a young age, I was the youngest employee in the store and the general manager at the same time. So I had to grow up very quickly. I just in the journey, I'm sure we talk about a lot of these in the later episodes, but I moved out when I was a young kid and out of home. So I had to grow up very fast. And, there was a person, just like, your journey. I remember Alexis was one of the supervisors that was working there, and he was in charge of training. And I liked this guy. He was charismatic, but I just wanted his job, right? And my first day, he's like, if you want to grow in this job, you have to be like a sponge. You have to learn everything. You have to look around. Don't just do your job. You learn everything around you. So that really resonated with me. I went on a path of just devouring all the training material, learning everything about the operations of the store. So when there was a gap in leadership, naturally I was the person that was able to do all the different jobs. Scheduling and ordering and the P&L, I was able to do all of that. So it was natural for me to be able to actually fill that gap. So I eventually got promoted to general manager. I did that for a long time. Now, looking at my journey in the beginning, I was not good, right? I sucked. I remember I was telling people, you got to listen to me because I'm the boss, right? And that started from that.
We've all been there.
Yeah, right. But Chick-fil-A gave me the desire to learn. I got introduced to John Maxwell. He was a regular speaker at our events there, and just devoured his books and fell in love with learning and audiobooks and just listening to John's, the way he tells stories in his books. From there, in college, I decided to actually change my major. So as a kid, I was more interested in political stuff and what's going on in the world, and somehow that desire just went away, and I didn't really care about it anymore, and I got more interested in business and wanting to build a business and be financially secure. So I changed my major to finance, and that introduced me to Robert Kiyosaki. And actually, his book made me change my major and introduced me to the world of real estate. And I got my license while I was in school, but I didn't do anything with it, my real estate license. And when I was working at the bank, I realized I don't really like banking. I hated that job. And part of that was going from a company that was all about people and always caring about like putting people first to a company that no matter what, like, people don't matter, customers or employees. I was in a situation where I was running a bank and I didn't have a district manager. The guy who hired me quit, and I was shorthanded with employees. And people would walk in, and the answer from upper management would be, "Just tell them to go to another branch, or tell them to be an hour late." And people would be upset, and they didn't care about that. That really actually upset me, from coming from a company that was all about people, all about your reputation, all about doing your best no matter what. So I decided to take my real estate seriously, and took a leap of faith. Started. Had a client or two, but at that time decided to leave the bank and just do real estate. And being in Chick-fil-A and being in management and having having few. And now I think about it, like having few employees at a young age that were going through similar journeys that I was, but I was in a senior position and I had to kind of guide them and help them and watch out for them, made me like being a mentor or a coach and helping other people, even if I was going through the journey with them at the same time, like being somebody they could lean on. I always say to my friends, I love to be the person you call, like somebody will call on their worst day.
I call you on my worst days. Like, I know I'm crazy. I just need to listen and tell me I'm crazy and I'll be better. Yeah.
Yeah. So I for whatever reason, I like that. I don't want to be a therapist necessarily, but I do want to help people see something and be able to execute it and just, execute on things maybe they didn't think possible. The reason is there are people in my life that did that for me, whether they were in person or virtual, right? So like any bosses or mentors that I had that really influenced my life, or a few people that I think changed my life just through reading their books or consuming their content, that had a huge impact on me, and I wanted to not just pay that forward. Like I wanted to just do that for a living. So when I was in the real estate journey, I went back and forth on being on a team, leaving the team, being on my own, trying to create my own team. But there was a book I read, Ryan Serhant's book. At the time he still is #1 agent in the world, super successful. And I read his book and I was extremely happy for him, proud of him. Like I realized outside of like this person you see on TV, behind him there's systems and processes and a real business that this guy has spent decades on building. But I realized I don't want that. Like if I had everything he has right now, I want something more. Again, it wasn't about money, it was about the journey and the feeling you get. I wanted more impact than just the business side of it, the money side of it, I should say. So I, at the time, knew, okay, I want to be part of, instead of taking my own company from 0 to 10, I want to be part of a business and being in a position where I can impact people and help them go from 10 to a billion, rather than go on this journey on my own from like 0 to 10 or 0 to 100 or 1,000. I just wanted to be part of a bigger picture. I looked at real estate as something that I probably do for the rest of my life, but as a journey that helps me. It's a bridge, gives me the tools and finances and freedom to do what I really want to do in life, right? But the business could be a real estate business, or there's in our real estate business right now, we have multiple businesses. Real estate is our main thing we do, but we do have businesses that serve other aspects of it. So now I see how that's even more possible. But that's kind of the journey that I went on. The why for me is there's two things that I really want. Maybe this is more of a what too, but I think the why is the people that had impact on me and how it changed my life, and I know the feeling I got from it and the possibilities I saw, and I wanted to do that for others. But the two things for me are freedom and impact. So impact is the big one. I want to have impact, right? And I had to over the years really define that and figure out what I mean by that. Because I don't mean, and this might sound a little bit wrong, like I don't want to help people, like I don't want to help you carry your groceries, right? I want to do something that will be paid for. Like I want to do something that actually impacts your life and has ripple effects. For example,
it's like a teach to fish. You're not feeding
Exactly.
somebody. You're teaching people to fish and get what they want from life.
You're reading my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like I want to be able to do that. But over the years, I realized impact alone, if I want to be able to have the impact, first I got to have the freedom. myself, right? And that it's financial freedom is part of that. There's other aspects of life that I have to gain true freedom in, and financial freedom to me is mean just being able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, with whoever you want to do it. We hear that a lot, but get to a place where I truly have freedom to put my time and energy into what I really want to do, knowing that there's an engine that I've created that's producing the financial freedom as fuel for me to do whatever I want to do.
So you said something I kind of want to go back to and unpack a little bit, because it actually really resonated with me, because I had a similar experience. You said that at Chick-fil-A, there was a leader there that you kind of emulated. You were like, I want his job. And that like clicked in my head, because also in that first interview, for a management position in the education industry that I went on, I was like, it was probably the most immature and maybe cocky thing I could have said, but I just spoke from my heart. And the interviewer was a district manager, and she said, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" The age-old interview question. And I was like, "Hopefully in your job." And I didn't mean take her job, and it wasn't just because she had fabulous shoes and outfit, but I know when she would come and visit our school and come into my classroom, I always felt so inspired. And she would come in and ask me questions, and they always seemed to solve a problem that sometimes I didn't even realize I had. And I was like, wow, she's magic. Like, she's magical. She's meaningful to me. I get excited when she comes because I learned something. I feel like I moved something forward, and I want to be able to be in a position that I can have the same influence more naturally. I think as a teacher in the classroom, I certainly could have made impact lots of different ways. I think sometimes being in a certain role makes it a little bit easier just by kind of like the reach that you have. And you said the same thing. So it got me thinking, an important part of the journey of like learning and growing and getting where you want to go is I think that we see things and people and lifestyles that we want to have and kind of imitate or strive towards that for a while. And it's interesting to hear that you had the same experience. Like, you saw somebody that you're like, I want to do that, and that kind of set you on the greater path that you're on now.
Yeah, I call that modeling, right? Like, and I ripped that off from there's people in your lives that you can go on a journey and trying to figure out yourself, or you can model after somebody and save years. For me in the beginning, Alexis, the guy I was talking about, he was charismatic. He was awesome. He was a cool dude to be around. I was a young kid, and he was a few years older. He wasn't that old. So somebody, like, as I was in high school, he's a few years older, and he's fun. You just want to be around him. But he was at the time also the director of training, and I enjoyed, I always enjoyed talking, as you can tell. So I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed training. I would make my mom sit down on the couch, and I would teach her the topics that I was going to test on. That was the way I would learn. So I liked that training job. And him saying you have to be a sponge caused me to, so before being a general manager, I became the director of training after Alexis left, because I learned everything, right? Liking him and liking the job was a combination of two things that drove me towards that. But knowing everything, because I was the training person, caused me to automatically be ready for the next position, right? What I was missing at the time was leadership. I had to learn the leadership skills. And that is, we always talk about that. That's like a lifelong journey, something that you're forever learning and getting better at. But later in life, there's other people that really influenced me, especially like virtually. And the reason I came to our current company that I work at is being at Casa, our company, was for me partially modeling. I looked at the time where I made the decision of, rather than me just doing this on my own, I was listening to my virtual mentors who said, a lot of younger generations right now look at, I need to have something right now. I need to be out of college and have a $100,000 job, $200,000 job right now. I deserve that. Rather than going to get so good that you cannot be ignored, that you get so good and the skills stack up. And if you want to do that, you need to be willing to stand next to somebody and be an apprentice and do something at a high level with them and give a few years to that, being an apprentice, because that will save decades in your life. So for me, something clicked. I was actually looking for an environment where I could be next to somebody and work with people where they could actually save decades in my life. And I was lucky enough to find Rob in our company, And that put me, I think, ahead by several years right now, by decades. So to me, modeling is one of the best things you can do. Like right now, there are people that I imagine like I'm modeling after, things that they do, and they talk about what they do, and I do the same thing. But partially, we're talking about it's the journey you're going towards. So it's really understanding how someone thinks, what their psyche is, like how they operate, what their identity is. I pay attention to those things, at least for me, they're important. So if I really want to learn from somebody, I want to learn pretty much what works for them, their failures, so I can learn from that and save a lot.
So you're mentioning saving time, like that's very tactical to me, like cut decades off this journey, like just model, which is so very true. For me, it's more about a personal fulfillment, like almost like a selfish fulfillment. I feel good about what I'm doing. I worked for a company one time that the owner was insanely smart, like business. I mean, I could model her, like want to model off of her business savvy any day, but she was not nice. And I remember having a conversation with somebody about her, and they were like, she sounds like a shrewd businesswoman. And I'm like, wow, even that word sounds icky, shrewd. And I'm like, of course I want to be a badass in business. That's like the one side of me, and then also the people person. But I don't want people to look at me and say, wow, she was a shrewd businesswoman. People say, wow, she made an impact. Like where we were able to go because of what she was able to offer. And I think for me, modeling is true, but it's also about surrounding yourself with like-minded people who also want to grow and learn on the journey. And they're teaching you while simultaneously learning from you too. So you go to bed at night feeling content with where you're at. The journey's not done. We have so much more to do, but I feel good about even just having a conversation with you. I can go to bed and be like, I feel good. I feel like I opened my mind today, and I did something, and I also received something. It's a concept of like pouring into each other, right? That's so much more gratifying, I think, than just having $1 billion P&L, being like, look what I did. A lot of people can do that, and when they die, maybe people will remember that. But what will people say at your eulogy? And if you're just a shrewd business, like, can you imagine it's your eulogy being like, she was a shrewd businesswoman? Like, that's not what I want to be remembered for. And I don't think that's something that I could like rest my head easy at night. So you say modeling. To me, it's being around people who share the same values that I do.
Yeah, that's so powerful, because we always hear you're a combination of 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. You earn like them, you behave like them, you learn from them. So I think you have to surround yourself partially with people that are ahead of you in life, in relationships, in business. Partially are the people that are on the same journey as I am. They're my age, they're same family situation, same number of kids. And then partially just learning from people that, like, just looking back, right? But it's like life is like playing tennis. If you want to get better, you have to spend time with somebody who's better than you, right? In the areas where you want to improve. Life is divided in so many different categories. So it's not about putting yourself on a scale and measuring like, oh, this person is making more money than me, therefore they're more successful. I think success means so many different things to so many different people. But like you mentioned, for me, what matters at the end of the day, I know I gave it my best. Some days you win, some days you don't win. And there's a lot that we're going to talk about on this podcast. This is one of the topics I'm sure we'll go deeper on. That what does success, because as we go through this journey, the lessons I've learned is like, you're not going to win every single day. You're not going to win every single month. You're not going to win. And sometimes you have to just realize how far you've come, because I've definitely experienced like, oh man, I don't think I'm winning this week or this month, and it's really affecting me. But I'm like, somebody has to remind me, look back. And you look back, you're like, I can't believe how far I've come, even in just the last like 2-3 years. And it's about winning that day and that moment. And that's going to help you move forward, because you can get to the top of the mountain and still feel empty, right? So we talked about, that's an example of things that we're going to definitely go deeper on in this podcast. Me and you've been sitting down and kind of brainstorming on a lot of ideas and things that we're excited to share with everyone. So what are some of those that come top of your mind, and some of the topics that we're going to talk about later?
So my favorite one that I'm super excited about, that I could talk for hours. I won't. We'll keep it concise and efficient. is procrastination,
Mm-hmm.
procrastination on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a procrastinator. I'm not going to talk a lot about this right now. We'll save it for later. But I've always grew up. It was like, oh, you're a procrastinator, and I'm like, what? No, I get straight A's, and I always do what I need to do. Why are you saying that like it's a bad thing? And people would label me like it was a bad thing. And then I read Procrastination on Purpose, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not a procrastinator. I know how to prioritize. But it was a journey of self-discovery, right? And also the other side of that is not lying to myself about my shortcomings and the opportunities where I could grow. So we're going to do an episode on procrastination on purpose. We're going to go a little bit deep on kind of a nature versus nurture exploration on our childhoods and the people we were around and how they kind of made us into who we are today, which leads me into another one of my favorite topics I can't wait to unpack and rip apart with you, which is trauma and how that
That's your favorite word, right?
That's my favorite word. No, I hate the word trauma. I'll explain why on that on that episode. I have a very thought out reason why I hate that word. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the concept of success. Yeah, those are kind of the ones that come to my mind that I know that we're planning that I'm really excited about. What are you most excited about talking about?
Yeah, so a lot of the things you said, like Procrastination on Purpose, the book changed my life, right? It's one of the most full of tactical things that I've learned. And to me, that book was more about how to get more done. I was at a period in my life where I was like, I really felt like I'm giving everything I got, and how do I do more without working more? So to me, that topic is about how do I get more done in less time, and actually learning the emotional side of procrastination and why I procrastinate certain things. I think we talked about today, we mentioned being a workaholic a couple of times. I was reading a book recently. It was called, I believe it's Going From Success to Success. And there was a chapter in there that hit me like from the left corner. It was just like hidden. So the guy's talking about going to, a later phase of your life where you had a successful maybe career or something you're doing, and now you're doing something after that. But there was a chapter right in the middle about workaholism, and that made me stop and really consider, all right, I think I have something here that I'm not willing to admit. So definitely want to talk about that. But also, really, the things we're learning to be able to execute, to create momentum, to create. So to me, the process of success can be broken down into how do I get myself excited about my goals? How do I get more done? How do I become more disciplined? I'm the most disciplined person I know, and there are people out there that like that or don't. There are things that I struggle to be disciplined on, and there's things I'm really good at. But I think discipline is a process that can be built. Now, a lot of people have negative connotation around that. They think discipline is a bad thing. So I love to talk about that as well. Today's been very exciting. Super excited to start this and recording our podcast weekly. As we've been talking about, there's different topics and episodes that we have. And we're really going to take you on this journey with us. We're talking about some of the things we've learned, but also some of the things that we're actually learning or struggling with right now as we're making this business bigger and bigger in this journey we're going on. So I'm super excited. Emily, what are your last thoughts before we hop off here?
No, I'm just excited to share our journey. We just recently read Fierce Conversations, and she said something in there that has just really stuck with me. And it's when you're on a business building journey or any type of journey, really, but business specifically, are these the people that you want to get in trouble with for the next 10 to 20 years? Because that's what the journey is, right? And I did a lot of reflecting on that. And the good news is I was like, hell yeah, these are the people I want to get in trouble with for the next 10 to 20 years. But I'm actually really excited because it feels actually exciting and a little bit daunting to me, like this journey that we've put ourselves on. So I'm actually really excited to share with everybody the trouble that we get in, being real, honest, this is, a failure. What did we learn from this? And just get real about that. And also be able to pour into the people about things that we've already learned so far. So
absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you here next week with a new episode of Billion and Better.
See ya.